More altcoin season topics today. We'll be breaking down Cardano, Solana, and Avalanche, and some key things that are happening within those ecosystems you don't want to miss. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's start off today with our sponsor, and that is MArgex. You guys need to jump over to this one because it is a great place where you guys can go out there and do your trade. No KYC required. And the cool thing about MArgex is they've got this feature that is built around copy trading. And here's an example of some of the leaderboards that are out there and where their traders' equity is, what kind of the strategy equity they position, their return on what they've done in terms of their investment, and then the number of people that are following that trader. So you guys can go in and select the one you want to use and then mirror that. Very easy to use. Check it out. Click the link down below. All right, let's go over to a couple of points I want to hit on. You guys will probably remember we did a whole slew of videos around the Wyoming Stablecoin. When they were doing this, we actually put out a statement that we did not think that Cardano would be selected for this. They were on the list, but we did not think that they would be selected. Take a look. I mean, this is clearly going to be an ERC20 stablecoin, is my anticipation. That I don't think Cardano is going to be involved in that in the state of Wyoming. Remember, Visa is one of the fastest transactions out there, but here's the list they started testing. And of course, Solana was the winner, but you see Avalanche in there, Flow, Algorand, Stellar, Tron, and I do not see Cardano on this list. So I'm just saying, I just don't see him on the list. All right, so this was something that I got a lot of hate for, you guys. I mean, not bad hate. It's just people saying that, no, it's going to happen and, you know, you shouldn't be picking on Cardano. I'm not picking on anybody. This is just looking at the data, looking at the results, and then trying to figure out which way these guys are going. Because if you really try to analyze this, it does give you an insight to where some of these tokens can move. Here was a quick tweet with with Charles. They have kind of dwindled down the candidates here, and we've talked about some of those. Charles was not happy. I'll show you a video of what he had to say. Take a look.
But there are many people in the Cardano ecosystem who are asking about this, and I'm as blindsided as you were, saying that we didn't have certain capabilities, although we were never told that these capabilities would be necessary, so we had no opportunity to prepare a prototype. I guess other ecosystems are more important according to this path forward. I think it's both illegal and unconstitutional. You see, it's not just Cardano that was excluded. 29,900 plus blockchains were also excluded. We at IOG will pursue options at our discretion. But it's pretty sad to have spent a year and a half, hundreds of meetings, sub-meetings, and having invested hundreds of millions of dollars into infrastructure in the state. I'd like to believe that those investments were wise. That's pretty sad.
Just to be clear, I mean, they were part of an entire group that, first of all, this was a very open process that the state of Wyoming conducted. In fact, it might be one of the most open ones I've ever seen. This is their Notion. If you don't know what Notion is, it's basically a note-taking site, but you can share this with the industry, and they've actually got this as a public thing. And you can see public notes are in there, agendas, the minutes, the budget reports, recordings, everything's all tied within this. So it's very easy for people to do that. One thing that he mentioned there was the potential of, you know, a prototype. The problem was, if you guys remember, we've covered this quite extensively, is that Wyoming was trying to go speed to market. So there was no time for a prototype, which is why a lot of this was happening. Take a look.
One other thing I wanted to highlight here is the need for expediency. The Fed has already alluded to cutting rates several times across 2024. And that would have an impact on how much revenues we're able to generate. So again, being expeditious with this will be beneficial.
That's Apollo, who is the guy that has been leading the charge there in the state of Wyoming. This was the layout of the consensus mechanism, basically consideration, the criteria. And a couple of the things, there was 5 points: public and permission networks, permissioned onboarding, transparent supply, on-chain analytics, and then the freeze and seize capability. That was basically what each of the blockchains had to be able to do. And, you know, to Charles's point, necessarily was not what Cardano was able to do in terms of meeting that. So let's go into another clip here from Apollo talking about their first test. Take a look.
If you did not have any one feature, that blockchain would not be considered qualified for scoring. Alio, Algorand, Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Binance, Canton Network, Cardano, Cosmos, Infinity, also known as the Internet Computer, EOS, Ethereum, Hedera, Immutable, Lightning, Liquid, Monero, Near, Optimism, Polkadot, Polygon, Ripple, Solana, Stacks, Stellar, Sui, Tezos, and Zcash. Of the 28 chains that were initially scoped, 14 were considered qualified for scoring, so half. Then we went into the actual scoring rubric, which was 9 very quantifiable criteria that reflect the efficiency, stability, and utilization of a given blockchain, specifically deployed to the main net of a given blockchain. So this is not technology that exists theoretically, things that are on test nets that are not fully deployed yet. We want to make sure we're assessing things that are live, because we do expect to move extremely quickly with this effort, hopefully launching early next year.
All right, so to his point, what they were getting at is they're trying to go fast, so they need stuff that's working today to be able to rely on. They mentioned the scoring rubric. Here it is in terms of the criterias, and you would get points, so you could get 3 points all down to 0 based on your stability, active users, total value locked, etc. All these things were key elements that would go into this rubric for being able to select them. So I want to go to another clip. This next clip is going to go into their second test. Take a look.
So these are 14 chains that we determined hit those 5 binary criteria. These will be Solana, SWI, Polygon, Ethereum, Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Stellar, Binance, Algorand, Hedera, Optimism, Tezos, and Cosmos.
So you can kind of see they've really went to a extensive process to get these tests done and be able to approve a lot of these. And they were breaking these down in each phase of the testing. Their final test was right here. This was their third round of looking at these chains. Take a look.
Those 5 are Solana, SWI, Ethereum, Avalanche, and Stellar. The working group also recommended adding the qualified layer 2 networks that are on top of Ethereum.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye or raising a thumbs up, I guess.
Aye.
Aye. I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Pope, I assume that's an aye.
It is, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I am an aye.
Okay, and what you're seeing there, and I'll show this in a second, is the blockchain rubric coming down. But I want to go to this next clip, because this will start to break things out into maybe which chains are the leaders, because there's several that are within that right now. Actually, I want to show this real quick, and then we'll cut to the clip in a second. This was the candidates, okay? Remember the breakdowns that he gave you, but there was Solana, SWI, Polygon, of course, and Avalanche. A couple of things that you have to look at is, going back to that rubric, is that the total users on Avalanche were actually considered at a different time, meaning they didn't really give them a full score on it. So it's very possible that Avalanche could be a much higher score than this. So we're going to be watching this one pretty closely. Now I want to go back to the clip now, because it's going to compare Solana and Avalanche. Take a look.
Solana, while it scored very highly elsewhere, it has had outages from time to time. So that perhaps got a minus score on that particular criteria. Avalanche, as an example, you can see that it is a public and permissionless network. They link to its internal documents. We know that Avalanche supports customizable subnets that could give us permissioned onboarding as well. There is a transparent supply. I've linked to the block explorers for these different chains so people can see in real time what's happening on a given chain.
All right, so why is this so important? When you think about Wyoming, a stablecoin, like I said, this is going to be developing a roadmap for either other states, banks, maybe countries starting to look at stablecoin usage. Remember, this next cycle of legislation that's going to happen in DC, we are going to get a stablecoin bill. And this, I think, will be one of the key catalysts that we'll start to see some of these chains roll out into. I want to go back to the rubric real quick, because Solana's leading the way here with 32. You have SWI coming in at 26. But this score that SWI had was done prior to their recent outage. So that's another knock that might be happening right now. Then you look at, of course, ERC, and then you look at the Ethereum tokens, and one of the chains, of course, would be Polygon. The potential here is because the particular bureaucrat, Apollo, he has been using Polygon before. So if it is going to be one of these, it's most likely going to be a Polygon. The other slide in is, of course, going to be Avalanche. And Avalanche, I think it goes back to that point that he was making in terms of the total users. That's the difference that I think is going to play out here. This is basically what it boiled down to. And one thing I want to focus on is Avalanche right here. I'm on line 7. But anyway, right there is the total users, and they got no points for that. So that alone would move them from a 26 to a 28, probably the second best overall in terms of potential chains for this. Now let's go over and take a look at what's happening within the ecosystems. So when you take a look at Avalanche's real numbers, if you go into the network itself, they were off by basically about 3x right there at 84,000. You can kind of see as I'm hovering, I don't know if you guys can see that right there, 84,165. And then if you go further into the test nets and further, now again, granted, a lot of these are games, Pulsar, Gonzilla, Off the Grid, etc. But you look at that, and now you're starting to see a huge difference here in terms of total users. So that I think is going to be considered overall in terms of the final selection process here. I want to go further into this a little bit because this is getting into Solana. Now, we're going to shift over to Solana for a second because there's something happening here. Many of you guys probably saw this over the weekend. Pump.Fun was having some very interesting situations that were occurring around tokens. A lot of these meme tokens on Solana that were causing most likely a potential where we might get some sort of law enforcement involved in this because there were some crazy statements being made on these. So that in itself could be a bad look for Solana. So you have to kind of consider all the ecosystem that is going on right now. This, of course, right now is the odds of Pump.Fun getting banned in the US because of these kinds of things. If this were to happen, guys, this would be a big black eye for Solana. And I think that's another factor that could go into the decision process upon this. If you look at Avalanche, the likelihood is a lot more quality around these transactions than what we've seen with the meme token transactions that are happening over on Solana. So all of that being said could really play into this. Now you look at where Cardano is going, because I still think there might be some trades that could play out within the Cardano ecosystem because it is growing in terms of active users. This is kind of the base case of around 69K in terms of transactions. If you just look at what's happening over here on Artemis, you can kind of see some of the tracking. And then that's kind of the base case. Here's the bull case, also looking at the same thing. This is on Cardano scan, even at the top right there at 402,000. Let me zoom in on that for you guys to see that. That's the bull case. So just to give you an understanding of where that is heading and why they still are kind of looking at that as a position. Further on to this, I want to go into the fact that they have so much money. Cardano has so much money in their treasury at $1.3 billion. So this is a big deal. Why has Cardano not done the kind of things that some of these other chains have done to be able to be selected in that top tier? Because it looks as though they could have had a chance at this. So it's just an interesting point with 1.3 billion. Now, part of that is the recent rise in Cardano's price. The other thing that could have happened here, of course, this is talking Cardano talking about Charles, talking about the relationship with XRP and RLUSD. So that's a stablecoin that eventually will most likely partner up with Cardano. I think that's a big benefit for Cardano and their users down the road. But it didn't happen. It has not happened yet. That would have been another, advantage. One of the reasons that we have seen a pump, though, I think within Cardano is this right here, and that was Charles Hoskinson's stating that they may be involved with the Trump administration. That I think was one of the original initial hits on it, and of course, Cardano did see some price impact. Further into that, I want to go to this right here, which is a clip of Charles talking about the relationship with Trump. Take a look.
Talk us through exactly what those discussions look like and who are you speaking to in particular?
Not exactly clear in how it's set up on the executive side. Treasury Secretary and Trump's people, and they're far beyond my pay grade. I have no idea where they're going.
All right, so basically kind of distancing from that statement of them being involved with that group. But when you look back at the potential here of Cardano, what could actually benefit from this? Actually, I think it's going to be a couple of their side tokens. One is SNEK. SNEK is the meme token on Cardano, so you guys can go over and see the kind of pump we've seen on there all time. But if you look at the 7-day, it has started to really move. This may be a play. Other things that might be a play right here, there's, of course, Charles talking a little bit about SNEK is going to be involved in some of their activities. The other one I'm looking at is Minswap. This is think of it as their Uniswap for Cardano. This one may be the big player here, because if there is some opportunities here for some tokens to be looked at here, could this be the Uniswap play on Cardano itself versus actually the token ADA to be able to run this altcoin season? So interesting potential scenarios that could play out here. Again, all this is good for, I think, for Cardano in general, other than them not being selected to the Wyoming thing. So I want to hit on Avalanche and something that they're doing. So this was a tweet just showing they had a new upgrade on the Fuji testnet. But the one thing to take note here is this right here, this Etna upgrade. This is basically reducing the fees on these L1s. Simply meaning everybody that's trying to launch a project, it is 99% cheaper now to do so on Avalanche. Huge, huge win for Avalanche. Again, this would be potentially a Wyoming stablecoin opportunity going forward here. Last up, of course, is you got to look at the potential of a flip here. Avalanche holding the number 11 position at 17 bill. Cardano holding the number 9 position at 35 bill. So it's very possible we could see that flip incoming. All of this would have to be very positive for Avalanche. I think there's some plays here with Cardano. So again, a very deep dive for you guys. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. If you're part of the Diamond Circle, congratulations. If you're not, get involved right now. All you have to do is click the link down below. You're on our email list. We share additional podcasts, additional insights. So get involved with that. Of course, follow me out there on X at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.